and Sudad Asamirson. Sorry, I apologize for that. Unionens ombudsman, as they say. And last but not least, Peter Christensen from Unionen. And me, myself, I wasn't a part of the last event, so I'm really curious about what was going on. I know you, Malin, had a little bit of experience, as well as you, Beatrice. So it's going to be interesting to hear a little bit about what happened there and how we can go forward with the insights that came from that. But first and foremost, I think it's pretty important to understand that that list was then turned over to Unionen and Almega. And the idea was to make sure that they, in some way, were going to implement this into their strategies and help out to make this problem go away. I don't know how that work has been going on. So we're going to dig deep, and we're going to start off by inviting one person that's with us here on link. And that's you, Fredrik von Essen. Hello, and welcome to the broadcast. The list was turned over to you for implementation. So now I'm curious about the result. So could you please tell us what have happened since you got that list, and just give us some insight on how the implementation is going?
Thank you. I was present at the very occasion in October last year when the list was put together, although I myself as a man wasn't actually involved. Rather, as you mentioned, I was there to receive the list. And then what has happened then since this meeting that we are participating in now was first supposed to take place in April, I think. So around somewhere with a few months of interval, we started to plan on how to really meet up to this list. And then, well, we all know what happened, Corona. Anyhow, we have really tried not to make Corona stop us in our ambition. And I'm going to tell you a bit what steps we have made since the list was given to us. And first of all, we had a close look at the list, and in this respect, we need to say, well, first I need to present actually who I represent and what we already do when it comes to gender issues. I represent IT and Telekomföretagen, or in English, that would be the Swedish IT and Telecom industry, which is an industry association representing around 1,400 Swedish IT and telecom suppliers, of which Sigma IT, with Beatrice here present, is one of them. And our mission is to, well, make the best possible circumstances for IT and telecom suppliers to operate in Sweden. And we do that by networking and also a lot of public affairs initiatives. And my area of responsibility relates to skills, just to see that our member companies and the IT sector in general has the skills they need. And there we have this huge challenge and problem that around half of the population isn't that interested in working in our sector as we want to. So the gender issue has been with us for a long time. And the main way that we have been trying to tackle it is by running a program called Mentor, which is a mentorship and change program, which we have been running for 15 years. And with the purpose of promoting young, talented female leaders, and also for the companies participating in the program to make them achieve certain goals related to gender by their participation in the program. And we are proud of that program. The companies have been participating. They show better key indicators on gender, such as share of women as part of the leader board and part of women in the various profession groups in general, and also in following up in pay and so on. And companies participating in Momentor also have cooperation with another organization called Nyckeltalsinstitutet, or in English the Key Indicator Institute, which they do a general follow-up on how certain gender indicators are developing, not only in the IT sector, but in all kinds of sectors. So we already do things. However, looking at the list, the Tech Women Make Equal list that was handed over to us, Leo, you need to tell me when I have to wrap up a bit here.
Okay, but do you think
I keep on talking here. Anyhow, looking at the list, we see that, which is actually the theme of looking at the list at all, is that many of the factors that have been pointed down there are of a rather subtle or culture-related factors, which is really the challenge to really do something about. Because what we do in Momentor and with this cooperation we have with Nyckeltalsinstitutet, the Key Indicator Institute, is that we have these rather hard indicators, such as female and male pay, absence, parental leave, and also a share of women in the leader boards and also on in working professional groups in general. But we can see, and also what we observing that factor that we need to work with culture, we have actually initiated a process of arriving at a handlingsplan, said in English, a plan for action for the future on how to deal more with these cultural factors. And
how does that look like, the action plan?
I beg your pardon?
How does the action plan look like?
It looks like this. This is a draft. So
awesome.
It exists in reality, but this is still draft. And
but that's the way you're going to follow up to make sure that these topics are going to be followed up. What's the purpose with the list?
The purpose with the plan is to pinpoint actions needed for the whole sector or the whole industry to arrive at better to deal in a structured way with these more subtle cultural aspects of gender problems that we have. What this plan includes is it also has and we do this together with Teknik Kvinnor, which is one of the networks that actually was active at producing the list. So we try to work with a target group here, and they are helping us in producing this action plan. And what they have done in this report is also that they look at not only what we have been doing in Momentor and what we are doing together with Nyckeltalsinstitutet, but also other studies related to gender and tech.
But just to get a little bit practical in this topic, could you give us kind of the most hands-on reform in that?
Yes, what we know, what is to try to summarize the provisional action points that we have is first and foremost to have more companies become participants of the Momentor program. Today we have around 25 companies per year, and these are prominent ones like Microsoft and other large companies. And in some way, I'm going to continue the list, but I just want to mention that you're a bit in a problem of when you are in a classroom and the teacher is kind of yelling at the students that are not present, and those who are present are kind of getting the blame. So that's the feeling you get when you're working with momentum, because here we have companies really take these issues, and we have a lot of companies and a lot of companies outside our association that we want to be part of the momentum program. Secondly, that we have on the provisional list is to work out actual way of measuring the cultural factors, the one that the list says of feeling of belonging, subtle forms of harassment, sense of not getting career, because these are really hard to get but that mustn't stop us from actually developing key indicators to follow up on these issues. The third point is related to one of the key indicators that the Consulting Institute follows, which is in Sweden is called yrkesgrupper, or professional groups, where our sector, even the momentum companies, really have a challenge. What it means is looking at professional groups is that we see that although distribution between the sexes could be okay within particular groups, and typically like working with development and technical issues, there we really need to work harder on how to change that balance on improving the balance within particular groups. And let's see, I am on this here. The fourth issue relates to actually promoting gender more heavily as a business issue. Because still, although more and more companies are aware that gender is important for the employee branding aspect, that what we really see and what we really need to promote harder outside the Womenter and other already convinced companies is to see the gender as a typical or important business goal in itself, and not only a kind of image goal, because there are hard facts, all right, and a lot of it actually shows that working actively with gender is good for profit. So that we need to simply work hard with. And fifthly and lastly, also to work long term with changing the image of the IT profession, because we see that no matter how well we can show that you have possibilities as much as women and men, as long as we have this image among teenagers and teenage girls that IT is not for them, well, then there's not much we can do. So we have to, in some way, work further with how to improve the image of the IT profession.
Thank you, Fredrik. It sounds for me
like...
That's
part of the provisional program.
Yeah, I'm very happy that you shared. I'm very curious. It feels like you made a list out of the list, and it's interesting. Me myself, I'm like, just a question to pass on. Why isn't equality common sense in the tech sector? I mean, you have a big role to play with you have been doing the Momentum program for 15 years, you said. Why doesn't stuff change?
Good question. It has changed among the companies that we participated. And you see that on these key indicators, such as female share of part of the leading groups, and in total, there's not 50-50. There's a goal of having at least 40-60, and these companies are around 35.
Okay.
So, but you see that you have to work long term, and it also proves that although common sense, as you say that this is stupid, culture runs deep. So it's not that easy. And also that we have this kind of quantity problem, that as long as looking at, for instance, those working actively with programming and development, as long as only 10% of all young girls enter into education to these professions and also graduate, and there's a huge imbalance in among those graduating from the educations, it is difficult to turn the balance there. But that doesn't mean that we have to we don't have to keep on working with it.
Exactly, and you were working together, or the aim was that you from Almega together with Unionen were supposed to make some kind of impact with this list, and we have with us Peter Christensen as well on link. And could you also just give us a minute to make us understand how you've been working with the list since you got it?
Yeah, sure. Good evening, all of you. My name is Peter Tai Christensen. I'm a team manager in the policy department of Unionen. And Unionen is convinced that we need to initiate actions to break the segregation in the tech sector to ensure that there's a higher representation of women and minority groups in technical jobs at all levels within the sector. And it's also essential to promote initiatives that aim to increase the number of women and minority groups at higher management levels. So I'm going to tell you a bit more about what we've been doing concerning some of the issues on the list. Regarding the demand to end harassment and to stop bullying, Unionen is a part of a large collaborative project which aims to develop a greater understanding of the mechanisms that lead to harassment in the workplace, and also to build an even deeper knowledge about the situations and the arenas where the risk for harassment to occur is larger or particularly high. It also aims to identify and disseminate evidence-based methods to prevent and preclude harassment in the workplace. Concerning career for everyone, initiatives that promote gender equality, diversity, and inclusion need to be taken when it comes to recruiting and retaining women and other underrepresented groups. These initiatives should include promotion of non-biased, skill-based recruitment processes that decrease the risk of biased recruitment, as well as initiatives to promote gender equality, diversity, and inclusion when it comes to promotion and pay. Furthermore, in order to increase the pipeline of women and underrepresented groups in STEM education, the following key actions need to be taken. Or in the ICTS sector, we need to undertake 4 key actions. The first one is to promote initiatives that aim to increase the number of women and underrepresented groups in STEM education, to promote initiatives that encourage interest in technology among young girls and children from underrepresented groups, to promote and develop alternative ways for less privileged socioeconomic groups to join the tech sector, and also to promote initiatives within the tech sector that bridge the crossover from education to employment for women and underrepresented groups.
Could you give us just a practical example on how that could be done?
Yeah, we see that there's a lack of onboarding strategies. I think a lot of companies want women to start working there. They need the skills, but not all of them. I'm sure some of them do have it, but not all of them have an onboarding strategy. So they don't really know how to. They often succeed in recruiting the women, but often they lack strategies to retain the women. And I think it has to do with the culture, which we'll come to later. But I think rather than creating a workspace that's based on stereotypes and how women would like their workplace to be, it needs to be more inclusive. So the onboarding strategies need to take as a point of departure that everybody who works there needs to be able to be themselves in the workplace, and they need to get the possibility to share their ideas and to grow in their professional roles, and to be able to reach and use their full potential, which is something that a lot of the people that we've been talking to, we've been carrying out a study with women who who took an education to work in the ICTS sector, but who are now working elsewhere in the labor market. And what they told us was that there was this lack of strategies. It was a very, very male focused workplace that they worked in, and it was almost impossible for them to get their wishes or their demands heard. So that's something that needs to change even before the women enter the workplaces. It's not for them to tell how the workplace should be formed in an inclusive manner. This should be done even before. So this is also something that we work with our elected representatives to make sure that even when there's a big gender imbalance in the workplace, you need to make sure that the workplace is inclusive for everybody, even before the efforts to sort of recruit a larger share of employees of the underrepresented gender.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that you're also capable of actually creating a workspace that is inclusive.
I hear you, and just to kind of wrap this up in a way, it's a lot of big questions I hear, and you get a little bit practical there with the onboard process. I can really relate to that. Just to make people comfortable is super important, and to make them understand that they have a part to play and so on. But I'm like, to come back to the 8 demands that you got on your table, which one do you think is the most important one to start with?
It's a bit hard because I think all of them are important.
Yeah.
Also, I would like to say that some of them are more practical in a way. So I think.
But let me rephrase. Which one is most easiest to get done?
Well, I think it's quite easy with some of the practical things concerning lavatories, etc. This is just something that we need to put in our checklist for our elected representatives. This is easy to fix. So I think things that have to do with the image of the sector is more difficult to just change. So I think that's also more important. But I would also like to say that if we don't put an end to the harassment, I think it's never going to succeed. So I think maybe the harassment point is one of the most important.
That one I can really understand. Thank you so much, Peter, for sharing your thoughts. It's going to be really interesting to understand how the work is going to be done. I'm just super happy that you guys could be able to be a part of this and share how the work is going. It's really important stuff, and you guys have a really big role to play in this. But I just want to welcome into the panel as well. Now, we've heard a lot about important things, and to be honest, I can't really wrap my head around it, and I don't know if I'm not focused enough, but I think it feels kind of complicated to me, but I'm not really sure that it is. So I just want to start off with you, Beatrice, who has a really high position in Sigma as head of communication and culture, and you're a woman as well. So could you just perhaps give us some insight on what you see in your work and how you guys are working to change it to the better for the women in the tech sector?
Yeah, I can do that.
Perhaps you can hold the mic a little bit closer.
No, I think it's
fine. Okay, super.
I would say that this is not an easy question. It's a big topic. It's very important, and I have been personally very much involved in this for many years, since it's something that's close to my heart. And as an engineer, I also think that it's important that we have role models, that we promote more women and young girls, women into tech areas. So it's not an easy thing, and it takes time to create change, definitely. And I've been in the industry for 20 years or so, and I have seen changes, but it's slow. So we need to speed up the pace, I think. And I think that you need to work with the management to make sure that this is a topic that's on the agenda, that is something that everyone is aware of and working with, so they can see the biases that they have, and they can have a process when they actually can understand what the situation is like and what can be done. And what changes that's required. You need to have top management involved in this. to create changes in the work environment. I definitely think so. So I'm very happy that my management team is really interested in these questions, and that we have it on the agenda, and also for all our employees, where we talk about it a lot, and we want to, if there are situations that occurs, we have I would say at least, the culture that you can, bring it up to the surface, that you can talk about it, you can discuss it. Maybe the action wasn't the best, perhaps, but you can do it in another way, and you can learn from it.
Is this something that makes people uncomfortable in your workplace when you start to talk about this, or is it like, people engage in this topic? Or
I would say that people engage in this topic because, we are working a great deal to have more women on board at Sigma, and I believe that one of the things that that you need to do is to talk about it.
Yeah.
To get them on board, but also to keep them on board. Because we want to,
That's kind of the problem, that they come on board, but unfortunately they kind of
that's
gravitate out after a couple of years.
Yes. At least I've seen it in different reports that's an issue in the industry, that women don't want to stay. Me personally, I've been in the industry for so many years, so I'm definitely stayed. But in general, I believe that we need to do more to make sure that the culture is developing, welcoming, and make sure that you have the opportunities as a woman in the organization as well.
I want to go down that road a little bit. It's quite interesting. Is it because you're a super strong person, or is it because you have patience, or what do you think? Did you have luck not meeting discrimination? Yeah, exactly.
I think that I wouldn't say that I've been more lucky than others. I don't think so. I think that I have been fortunate enough to have good people around me, and I also think that I have 2 older brothers.
Okay.
And I think that they perhaps have made me a bit more used to it. And I also, in school, when I went to school, in high school, we were like 3 girls in the class. So I think got used to it, perhaps. Okay. And I also think that I have been working with good people, and I'm a quite strong person, so I had, made my voice heard and let people know what I think should be done.
That's really inspiring,
I think. And I also had the opportunity to do changes, since I had some leading positions, so I can do change as, in my role as manager as well.
Perhaps you can come back to that a little bit. That's very interesting on how you work with changing the things that needs to be changed in your organization. But I just want to come over to you, Stefan, who works at Volvo. And we had a little bit of a chat before, and I'm trying to get practical here. And I know that you have been doing a lot of experiments in your way to find find these talented people and make them want to come to you. And one of the small but pretty important things that you did was to change the language when you search for talent.
Yeah.
Could you just give us a short brief on that?
Yeah, we were looking, actually it was 2 positions, and senior technical positions with also some research content. So they were quite, let's say, high profile positions we were looking for, and we really wanted to reach the wide audience here, and also be very inclusive, because this is also, I think, both for the team as such, but also for the values that we have by using a diverse team, also from a gender perspective, but also from an inclusiveness perspective, I would say. And together with the recruitment area and the HR, they helped us in order to rephrase the job ad. And I must say,
what happened?
They removed all the bullet lists. These are things that that when realized later on, that perhaps that is not. It's an easy thing to do. They also changed, let's say, more of the content as well, in terms of trying to reinforce the purpose.
Okay.
Why is this important that we are doing? And I think the essence, the person, the profile that I was looking for was still there, but it was just rephrased. And practically what happened is that in both these positions, I had a lot of people calling. It have never happened before. Usually it's just a few, but this time a lot of people calling, and always the first people that called were women. So I was really surprised, and it was small things that did this. And also then the percentage of women applied for this position was higher. I don't have the number, but I feel that this was actually the case. So it made a difference to get them interested in what we had to offer, the technical positions. So I think that was a real eye-opener for me. Then the next thing is actually then that we have touched upon the onboarding and keeping them. That is, of course, this is just a start to get them to apply.
But what is the problem with onboarding? Don't you could you just give us a little bit more understanding on how you changed your strategy regarding that?
Actually, I don't have the strategy there. This is what I found here, actually. That is also a part. I need to reflect on that. I don't have, let's say, all the answers, but I think I'm interested to make a difference here, to understand, and don't make my biases tell me what to do. I want to know and make purpose, let's say, decisions that are as unbiased as possible, really, for this. So, I mean, there are a lot of things that I've heard here as well that really I reflect upon as well. So,
that's really good. Yeah. We can come back to that, but I just want to look...
good discussions even before that.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, yeah. Malin. And I just want to say welcome to you as well. I know that you're super passionate about this topic.
I am. I actually already have some corrections.
Please.
I'm going to be that girl.
Be that girl.
First of all, even though I work at Chalmers Ventures, I'm here because I'm the president of Women in Tech in Gothenburg, who are also co-hosting the first event that originated this event. And second, when I listened to Fredrik from Almega speak, he said that we need to push that equality is also a good business case. And it is. There's a lot of studies showing that. But I find when working with companies that the ones that are doing it for the business case are rarely the companies that succeed in actually implementing it. And I also feel that... women, we shouldn't have equality because we're a valuable asset in our economic system. We have decided that all humans are created equal. So even if it wasn't a good business case, we should still have equality and should still fight for equality. And I think that there's an issue with constantly talking about it in economic terms because, one, I feel that if it ever becomes not... if it doesn't become a good business case, should we still not work for equality? And secondly, it ties to the question that you asked about why haven't we had it yet? Why don't we have equality yet? We've been saying for so long that everyone wants equality. And I feel that that's the big issue with equality is that everyone agrees. But if everyone truly wanted equality, we would have it. I feel that we're afraid to be uncomfortable and discussing that actually it is humans perpetuating these systems. So if everyone really wanted equality, we would have equality, but we do not. So we need to think about that there's also people benefiting from the current system. So even if we can talk about it as a good business case, I feel like we get a bit lost in what it's really about. So
what is it really about then?
I think what it's really about is no matter if it's good business or not, everyone is equal, has equal worth and should be respected and treated equal and have equal opportunities. These are like the basic fundamental rights that we've all signed off on. And they shouldn't constantly have to be applied to good business sense in order to still have importance. And I feel that sometimes they kind of lose their importance when they're constantly connected to business.
But don't you think it's a way just to get the right attention?
Yes.
Because everything is about the figures, the results, and if you can, indicate and prove that it has a positive outcome, then you get the attention to it.
Yeah, you can get more people on board. You can convince someone who wasn't on board, and I understand. And I just feel like every time I hear it, I also want to say that there's an aspect of constantly speaking about it in those terms, like when you and women are doing projects together with Coca-Cola. We've kind of commercialized this fight in a way, and I understand it because it's very compelling and it's an easy sell. So I understand the need for it, but I also feel there's a need to show the other side in these kind of discussions. So I've many times I have talked about the business case for equality, but I usually find that work is so intricate. So the companies that only want to do it for profit don't have the stamina and the endurance to actually see it through in the way it needs to be done. So if that's why you're doing it, I don't think you're going to succeed.
How is the right way to do it then? I mean, we have a list here. It's 8 very, very important things that need to be addressed. And I'm just, trying to understand practically how can we change this as fast as possible. We had heard earlier that, change takes time. I can agree on that, but does it really need to take that long of a time? How progressive can we be? And you as a rebel with your energy in many ways feels like someone I would trust, like, hey, could you please lead this? You sound pretty on point.
Thank you.
So just if you could take a minute to just give us some insight from what you see on how can we get to change as fast as possible. What needs to be? Do we need legislation or?
To get uncomfortable. I think that especially Swedish people, we don't do well with being uncomfortable, but we have to understand that we actually have to pay in some way to change things. First of all, we need to get uncomfortable with ourselves. We need to say that I have all these biases. I'm human. Everyone does. And it's not until I realize that I have these biases that I can start implementing strategies to not let them affect my business decision making. Because if you think that you're unbiased, studies show that actually correlates with showing more bias. So first of all, get uncomfortable with yourself and understand that you're not going to make all the right decisions. So you need to actually have strategies, which can be everything from formalizing hiring criteria before you start the process, or having a very open calls for every position. And actually, I'm all for democratisera data, so you actually show who's applied and who got it. There's nowhere to really escape if everything is out in the open. Yeah, everything is very hidden, and I'm always with my friends, I'm what do you make? What do you make? Because I feel like if our salaries are only based on reasonable things, why would we be ashamed to talk? Be afraid to talk about that?
So more openness.
More openness.
Just talk. Keep it
but I think
into the open.
Yeah, I think that it shouldn't be on the individual. I think it should be when you're doing when you're hiring or you're promoting people, the data for your decisions. So it should be very open.
But isn't it that people think that they have too much to lose? Well, not everyone, but a lot of people think that they have too much to lose if you are open with different things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that a lot of this is we don't want to get uncomfortable. It's the same thing with companies that keep saying that we want diversity, but we don't want to speak English at work. And we don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to when the young female at the office has a lot of opinions, we get a little uncomfortable. It's a little bit, and we don't really want to lean into that. So it's much easier to just say that we all want the same thing, when maybe we don't.
But we don't want to pay the price for it.
Yeah, we don't want to pay the cost of being uncomfortable.
That's pretty shameful. But transparency would at least solve the issue of equal pay.
Yeah,
for an example, that would be very easy to kind of see that. Hey,
and transparency in all the decision processes.
Yeah, and I just. The thing there with rewrite the bro code, for me, I kind of think I understand it, but is there some kind of, I don't know, Sudha, do you have any thoughts on that?
Bro code, I don't
yeah,
know.
do you?
I have no experience in that because
I'm
you don't have any bro?
No, I do have, but I work at an organization where we don't have these kind of problems, and we're very thankful for that. But I do recognize a lot of the issues we're talking about. I do recognize the unions' responsibility at the workplaces, because we're talking about transparency. That's basically what we always say to the employers we're talking to, and that's basically what the co-determination law is about: to be transparent to the trade unions and to their members, and that's why we say that we need to include these people. I hear a lot of good, very good, how do you say, things that could have been done. Stefan, what you're talking about, for instance, that you can just change or rephrase a little bit, and you might have a little bit more women seeking these kind of jobs. And what I'm trying to say is that you need to involve the employees in this. You need to involve them, and unfortunately, in this kind of sector, the tech sector, the trade unions are unfortunately not that strong as an industrial companies. For
Why
instance.
is that, man?
We don't know, actually. I wish we know that answer. We think that many of the people who work in these kind of sectors, they're young, they're well educated. They don't see the how do you say, the benefit of being a member in any trade union. But the unions in Sweden particularly has a lot of pragmatic ways in solving issues in the labor market, and I believe if we would be more members who organize and to have an open, transparent discussion with the employer, I think that we would together reach a lot of more goals. Because I hear from Fredrik and I heard from you as well that we're talking about the management. I think it's an attitude that needs to be, how do you say, you need to discuss it in all levels. It's not a management issue. We don't need more women in management. We do, and that's perfect. But that's not the only problem. Yeah. We need to address it in all the levels. And we believe that we have a responsibility as a trade union.
Can I add something around this bro code thing here? And that was a little hard for me. I didn't have any, let's say, how to reference that. And then we talked before here about when decisions are taken in an odd place. For example, if you go play tennis or something. And I think it's worth reflecting. It's not ill will that these things happens, but we need to reflect and make sure that we're taking the decision in the due place, where everyone can be influenced and affect this. And I think that was a good example. Yeah. And it's not by that we are thinking, okay, we are doing this excluding someone, but that is the result. And I think that is need to reflect and think, what are we doing and how are we doing things?
And I agree.
And I think that was a good example.
Sauna Club is a famous, how do you say, it's a famous place where you make decisions.
But it can be the coffee machine.
Yeah, of
just
course,
as well.
Yes.
If someone doesn't drink coffee.
Yeah. We don't need it in the sauna or at the golf club.
Decision point made where the decision should be made.
Yes. Yeah, I think that is a very good summary.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you. And just to come to the kind of the big one, we need to change the culture. That's a massive one. And how do you change culture? You say it takes time, change. I really respect and understand that. But as a senior women in a high position, what's your most effective tips on how to change culture fast?
I think that what we have done is that we have worked with an open climate. We have worked with education, information, and we have worked with role models, mentorship, and having different actions supporting the same end goal. So it's not one thing. There are several things that need to be done that going to the same end goal. And we have really put effort into getting everyone involved to make sure that that this is an area that we find important. It's important, of course, with the business results and stuff like that. Of course, I don't say that, but this is one of the areas that are important for the whole organization.
Yeah.
Everyone benefits from it, and everyone wants it. We have, the workplace is better. You have more fun at work. That is super important. The creativity is better. You do things that are represented by a larger group of people. Then, because the things that we do, we do technical solutions for all the society, and of course, the whole society is going to use them. Yeah. And then the society should be represented producing them. Otherwise, you get something that is produced by one part addressed to everyone, and that's not a good way of doing things. No. So you should have a good representation to be able to do the best solutions for everyone. So there's so many different areas that you need to work on. But as always, information, understanding, education, role models, I think is very important to work with. So that is something that we have done. There are tons of things that you can do as well.
I really can. For me personally, I think role models is the thing that I can connect to. Mm-hmm. You can see someone get inspired and
Can she?
Yeah, you can do it. Everybody, sorry for that, but that's just what I've been looking for, role models, and I agree on that. And what about you, Stefan? Time is soon running out, and I'm just interested to hear a little bit on your thoughts regarding
role models.
Both role models and also changing culture.
I think, and I agree with the culture part. That is, I think, the most. It starts there. These are the values that defines behaviors that we are doing every day. So working with culture, I think that is really important. I think we have started at the Volvo GTT way I work. That we have women, let's say, good leaders, role models, having seminars and inspire other persons, and that is not just only other women. It's the whole community. Now, okay, so they showing inspiration from these people. So I think definitely role models and also working with the culture is really important. I think it is the key, but it starts with everyone.
Yeah,
from
it's
the top.
important to note that those are two things, because
yeah, exactly.
role models will only help the inspire women, but it's I dare say that it's not mainly women who are the issue with the culture, and I think that the main thing about culture isn't the culture of an organization isn't defined by what you say you want. It's defined by what you allow, and I think that a lot of companies get that wrong. Culture is defined by the things that you allow to go on in your company. So if you have people who don't respond to emails when it's the young females at the office mailing them, or if you have these boys clubs or these things, or the tonality, or you have meetings where you only allow the men to speak, that sets the culture more than what words you write on your website that you want to have. And I think that a lot of companies work more towards what they want, because that is also, again, it's more comfortable than working towards what are we not going to allow, because then you have to actually look inside and be like, oh.
But I agree. There is a foundation. What are the official values? What do we stand for as a company? But then the culture defines what are we doing.
Yeah.
Regardless what is said on the paper.
Yeah.
And when those two, let's say, coincide, then you have probably achieved something very good.
Then you're living your values.
Yeah, exactly. Then you're living your values, and that is the goal. But of course, it takes a long way to get there, usually.
Yeah. I find it very interesting. For me, engineers are there to solve problems, but this problem has been going on for a long time, And how long time do you think until we really see that these action points are implemented and we are living this culture? What are we talking about here?
Malin, please.
Malin, you go for it. I'll go for it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just interested because what's up?
I want to say that we've come a long way, but I also feel like we actually haven't, because I still feel like there's no one ever who says I don't want equality. Where it's a non-issue. Everyone wants it, and we never get to the core until we realize that some people actually do not want it, or their actions doesn't comply with them wanting it. And that is a much less comfortable discussion to be had. And I think that we haven't gotten to that point yet. We're still always, when we're talking about these things, everyone is agreeing with each other. But if everyone truly agreed on this issue, we would have it.
I have a question for
Yes.
you. Do you think that this is a generation issue? Do you think that there is that the generation needs to be, well, go in retirement basically, in order for the new, let's say, ideas, thought, visions will be realized much quicker? Or do you have any?
I wish.
Yeah, partly, but not all of them, because the culture will still be there.
Okay, so the culture will
So-
transcend
Yeah,
generations in that case.
Yeah,
unfortunately. Yeah.
No, you're not a pessimist. You're a realistic,
Yeah.
as I am, and unfortunately, if to answer your question, when do we want to solve it? We want to solve it by the end of next week.
Yes,
we want to
Yeah.
we want to see new laws. We want to see new attitudes at the workplaces. But I think, I'm sorry, Molly, you. We should equal. I should hold this for a while. But what I'm trying to say is we need to solve it as soon as possible, because we can't have a work market that says that women should earn less, that women has more difficult in taking higher positions. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. We should change that as soon as possible. But not as a pessimistic, as a realistic guy, I think that it would take a couple of years from now. Unfortunately.
But what should we do?
It
Like
saddens me to
implement
see.
Unfortunately, I don't
systems,
feel
like when we
like-
put the
Flashlight on people that do these kind of things. How can we like
I believe
raise
that
awareness?
Yeah, I believe that the employer needs to take more action, basically, because by the end of the week, or I don't know how to phrase that, but it always ends by the business part, as Molly was mentioning. That's the unfortunate thing about the employers today. And if they would have someone who they see him, that this is a very crucial manager, and this manager, he's not doing, and I'm saying he because most of the time it's a he, and he's not doing his job correctly. He's not treating his female colleagues in the right way. Then the employer needs to step up and say, we don't need that in our business. We don't care how much you help the company, how much you earn to this company. We can't allow that, and that's another issue that the employers.
It seems like it's kind of a human thing, you know. Shit really needs to hit the fan before we change. Look at like the climate crisis and other big issues. Like we see it kind of in front of our eyes, but we don't still change our behaviors. And do you think this phenomenon is still a part of that human
but also
attitude as well?
climate change is gonna kill us all, whilst this system actually benefits some groups. Even though I don't think there's anyone who feels like, oh, consciously I want to have inequality because it's good for me, but for every position, every woman that's looked over for a position for a less qualified man, there's a less qualified man getting that job. And for every opinion not being heard by a woman, it's a man's opinion being heard. So I don't think that anyone consciously wants inequality, but it's not the same as climate change, because everyone is going to die from climate change, but some actually benefits from this.
Some sooner, though.
Some sooner, definitely, and we're not going to be hit the same hard, but that's another discussion. But there's no one benefiting in the long run of, and people do actually benefit.
That's the point.
Someone do benefit in the short run, and as long as they benefit, change is not going to happen. And it feels like that, you know, thought is kind of the same in small and big. But I'm not really sure. But I'm sure one thing, I know he's going to be moderating this next time. 100% sure. And time is soon running out, but I just want to give everybody an opportunity to give something away to the audience, to the people at home listening. We have been talking a little bit about big and small things, but everything is very important. But if you could help me to wrap this up, what would you say is the most important things that we can take out of this conversation and give people that are watching Anyone who feels like they have something to say.
I can start with that,
please.
Actually, because what we want to say to the employers, to our members, to the employees, that they should recognize and organize and demand changes in the workplace. And the trade unions in Sweden, we have the tools, we have the dialogue and cooperation with the employer, and with the help of our members, then we can have a dialogue and a constructive cooperation between the employees and the employer to make the workplace a better place for everyone. Because as I mentioned, everyone has very good thoughts that I'm taking with me today. But we need to take these good thoughts and these good examples to the table where we sit with the employer and demand that we can do things to make this more equal, to make this better for every employer, every employee in the company.
Thank you, Susanne.
Yeah, I want to say that one thing that I do feel have changed, talking about if this is a generational thing, I feel like women, we talk more to each other and we trust each other more with our stories. And I think that is something that is so important for any man who listens, whoever has crossed the line at work or ever harassed someone or treated someone unfairly based on their gender, that maybe you weren't fired, maybe you weren't called out during Me Too, but women talk. We talk. And I know that if I'm ever in a position that I'm hiring a team, I have some people I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, because we talk. We know when someone, we know what you did. And I think that is such a mechanism for women to protect ourselves that wasn't present before, because we more internalized that and felt the shame ourselves. But now, since it's become more like a public discussion, and I feel like women share more. So, yeah.
Keep on talking.
Keep on talking.
Yes.
I can take this one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My personal reflection then on this, my takeaway. I mean, and perhaps for others as well. Look at this list. I mean, for most people, this is a horrific list. Yeah. I mean, you are amazed what kind of things that is going on, and this is a list of facts. It's not someone that made up. This is happening. And I think looking at that and reflect on your bias. Well, where do I fit in here? Because somewhere you should do it, more or less, and then try to work against those biases. And I think that is my takeaway. I'm not free from bias, but I can try to be.
Very good. Very good. Very well said. As many of you others have said so many good things here today. I just want to end on a positive note to say that change can be done. Sometime back last year, we did an entrepreneur innovation competition because we wanted to create equality, and it was a totally equal competition. The jury was 3 women, 3 men. The prize award was split, half going to women, half going to men. It was entrepreneurs, and we know that it's a problem in the entrepreneur startup business that there are not so much funding to female entrepreneurs. So we wanted to do this, and everyone told us it's not possible. It's like 1, 2, 3% perhaps. If you reach 10, it's awesome. But we did this, and we, as you did with your job ad, we changed the tonality of the material that we have to promote this. We did it a bit more, we were aware of the things that needed to be done to make it more equal. And guess what? We had like almost 200 applying, and it was 40% women.
Wow.
So change can be made. I just want to,
Thank you for sharing.
And on a positive note.
I'm happy for that. And my takeaway is small things make big change.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Also.
Yeah, that's how I kind of sees it. And I'm just want to give you so that one last question, if it's okay. You know, if I'm as a person, you know, working in some place right now, feel that hey, this is my life. I experienced this. You know, this is my situation right now. Well, how can the union help? What can I do? You know.
What you should do is you should talk to your local representatives, and many of the companies. In your companies,
Yes.
we do have work environment representatives, and you should talk to them in the first hand, because you want to address and you want to address the issue, because you want the employer to take action, because if it's not only you're benefiting your colleagues and your future colleagues. And if you don't have an local representative, you can call your trade union, whether it's Unionen, Sveriges Ingenjörer. We can help you. We do have law, the collective agreement, and we do have a good relationship with many of the companies. And
so you will be taken seriously.
Definitely.
That's important.
Definitely something. And I would say that the employer would take that seriously as well. But I believe that many of the times women, unfortunately, they don't talk about it. Molly is saying she addresses that they talk about it. They talk about it to their friends, to the family. But we need to address it in the workplace. We need to address it to your trade union, to your employer.
Be a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, and make them uncomfortable. Make Unionen uncomfortable. Make the employer uncomfortable. Because we need to address it. And if you would talk to us or the employer, I'm positive that we would do a positive change.
That's also a positive note.
I just note that that's why it's good to have unions, because that was also why we did this event in the first place, because this is not on the individual. So if you don't feel like you're in a position where you can make your place of work uncomfortable, you can always go to a union where you address it in like a systemic level instead of putting it on the individual to advocate for yourself. Yeah. So that's why it's good that you guys exist.
But I also think that the different networks are also very good for that purpose, like Women in Tech, for instance.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That is also and I see a lot of different, networks amongst women that I think you didn't see that like 10, 15 years ago. But you do that today. And I think that's one important area that you can, address issues in a good way.
And that's what I'm taking with me. If I would talk to an employer about these issues and they won't recognize it, then I will tell them, you need to call Malin. Basically.
I agree to that 100%.
You need to call Malin to get educated and realize the facts here.
We need to get the information out.
I do agree that the list is there. This is the reality, and we all need to collaborate to find a way to make this shit go away, to be honest. And I hope that everybody here that's with us online has appreciated the conversation as much as I've done. And I want to give a special thank you to Unionen, who's made this possible, and to all of the participants that take of your valuable time to come and share your knowledge. Much appreciated. Hopefully we will see some change in this topic in the nearby future, but if I hear and take in what people say, I'm not sure. So we need to come together to make this fight real and change this. So thank you everyone for today.
Thank you.